Hello. I wanted to make a brief video on how to construct and use 3D printed staining nets for free floating immunohistochemistry on tissue slices. You may be wondering why use 3D printing in order to construct staining nets. You may have seen that there are staining nets you can purchase from scientific supply companies. Some of the reasons that I've created my own staining nets include the fact that buying said science supply company versions can be pretty expensive for what they are. Additionally, I've tried to make custom designs for particular purposes, and it can be really hard to find that for purchase anywhere if you have very specific specifications or you have certain sizes of tissue and so on. And if they ever get damaged, you would probably have to replace it outright and spend a lot of money doing that. But if you make it yourself in-house, then it's going to be way cheaper to either replace or even just do repairs on it. Here's the brief overview on how to make these types of staining nets. In order to make a staining net, have it 3D printed, you have to first design it. So you can use 3D modeling software. Any sort of CAD program will work. I find that Tinkercad, an online interface, is really simple, easy to use. It's free. It's been totally fine for what I need to do. When you are trying to design your staining net, you have to first consider the insert, the stuff that's going to cradle the tissue much like a colander would for spaghetti. So you design the insert first. You also should make sure that the walls of the insert are thick enough to make sure they're not brittle or frail. You would then design the basin that the insert fits into. That usually holds the solution. You would make sure that the opening in the basin is wide enough to fit the insert, plus some extra, because you don't want it to be a tight fit. You want it to be a loose fit so it's easy to remove. And you also want to make sure that the basin walls, again, are relatively thick to prevent any sort of leaking or frailty or anything like that. You can send the designs that you make as files to a 3D printing service. If you have your own 3D printer, you may already know a little bit about how to work with that software, changing the 3D modeling file into how it works in the printer interface. As far as what you choose, though, I highly recommend that since we're dealing with solutions and we don't want stuff leaking out, you should aim for a relatively high infill setting. So at least 70% infill. I don't really think it's possible to get 100% infill without having a lot of warping and distortion of the model. So 70 to 80% is usually pretty good. If there is potential for leaking, I will also mention that there are some substances online that you can get that they're liquid. They can infiltrate all the tiny gaps and cracks in a 3D print, and then they will dry and harden and seal things up. You'll just want to make sure that's compatible with your IHC chems later. In order to make a 3D printed staining net, you need the net part as well. So I recommend buying nylon mesh nets, cutting out a circle that's the same diameter as the insert, and gluing it on. And then finally, once it's glued on sufficiently, you want to make sure that it holds properly. Here you can see my example of an insert with a little handle on top in the Tinkercad interface. And if you're looking for the actual files for these models, in case you just want to print your own, I will include a link to my research website where links to those files should be available. Here's a separate design of the basin I mentioned before. And again, the opening that we see here in the basin is meant to loosely fit the insert. It's definitely wider than the outside diameter of the insert itself. Because again, we don't want a snug, tight fit. We want it to have a little bit of wiggle room. Here I'm showing the actual 3D printed pieces. So this is a one well staining net insert before the net's attached. And I didn't show the 3D printing process. That was done elsewhere at my college, and much thanks to the staff that did that for me. And so these are what I'll start out with typically before they're completed, but they're most of the way there. In this part of the video, here's where I'm applying glue in order to attach the nylon mesh. And the glue that I'm using here is UV curing resin, because then you could apply a UV light and it hardens everything together. In my experience more recently, though, from after I made these videos, the UV curing resin may not be very robust in standing up against repeated use in solutions. It might come loose. So I recommend trying other glues. Epoxy might work as long as you rinse it out thoroughly. There aren't any sort of like residues leaching into your solutions. Cyanoacrylate glue, also known as super glue, that can work pretty well, but you might want to use the gel versions because it can be very liquidy, very drippy, and also a little dangerous. And over here, I'm just applying that nylon mesh I mentioned before. It was previously traced out of a larger piece of mesh. I then just cut out the circle, and I just carefully align it and plop it on here. If you're looking to use the same type of mesh that I use this specific type displayed right here in this image. There are other types that you can get, and this is not the only supplier for it. There are plenty of other industrial supplies that you can get it from. So you've got your McMaster car, you got your Granger. If you're outside the US, there might be various other companies that you could actually get these supplies from. But it's not particularly expensive, especially since you get a roll of this mesh and you can use a lot of it as you're trying to construct these staining nets. If you decide to use the UV curing resin like I did, you'll need a UV light, and these can be bought pretty cheaply, like a LED one that you can plug into a wall outlet that's used for curing nail paint. When you get something like that, you want to make sure to get the orange UV light protecting goggles. You do not want to be having the stuff bouncing back into your eyes. It's not good for your eyesight. If you decide to not use UV light and UV curing resin at all, if it's epoxy, or then you just let it dry. You let it react and dry over time. If it's cyanoacrylate glues like Crazy Glue, Super Glue, you do have to apply pressure for it to react and solidify. Do not push on the wet parts with your fingertips. Apply pressure with forceps or some other pointy instrument that's unlikely to stick to it. Once your glue is dry, you'll want to check to make sure it's anchoring the net very well to the insert model. And so I did this by just pushing on the inside, and we can see it bulging out, and the net's not separating from where the glue is. Here's just a quick example of how it would work in action. We would just put some sort of solution into the basin. It could be a buffer solution. It could be something that has antibodies or staining chemicals or whatever else. And as I plop the insert in, the solution will go straight through the mesh, and any tissue in the insert will then be bathed in the solution. But if I pull up the insert, the tissue stays behind, again, like a colander type situation, while the solution can be swapped out. Here's another type of insert. You may have experiments in which you have multiple subjects or multiple specimens and you want to keep them separated so you can keep track of which one is which. And so this is where you might have a staining net insert that is multiple wells so that they all go through the same treatments at the same time as far as the staining process is concerned, but you're keeping track of which specimen is which. And here is said 6-well insert in action with brain slices from the rat brain, preserved with formaldehyde, in solution. So again, we see that by lifting it out, the brain slices stay behind, and we could swap out what the solution is because these staining procedures require a lot of solution exchanges, and these staining nets are super helpful for making that a very easy process. In wrapping up, I just want to reiterate, you can find some of my 3D model designs, the ones shown here and more, through my research website that I have linked in the video description. And if for some reason the link is broken, you can always find me on the web, Neuroslice Lab or KRU Neuro. Those are some ways to find me. quick thanks again for my college's critical making studio and the staff there for whipping out these models for me. I hope that this quick demo was helpful for people, especially in trying to have like cheaper alternatives for doing the staining net stuff. Good luck with your research.